Near Lake Valdai, between Moscow and St. Petersburg, lies one of Vladimir Putin's private estates. It is a very large place. It has its own train station, many buildings, and strong security systems. But some things on this estate look strange. There is a playground. There is also a go-kart track. These things are for children. President Putin has two daughters. They are both about 40 years old. He divorced his wife many years ago. People have not seen him with another woman in public since then. He always comes to official events alone. There is no public information that he has more children. So why are there a playground and a go-kart track on his private land? This makes many people wonder. Does Vladimir Putin have two secret sons? If so, who are these boys? Why is their existence a big secret? Why does the government work so hard to hide them? Some brave journalists wanted to find the answers. They decided to look into this dangerous question. One of these journalists is Ilya Rushdestvensky. He is a Russian investigative journalist. His work is very risky. Finding out about the president's private life can be very dangerous in Russia. But these journalists felt it was important to uncover the truth about these hidden children. This story will follow their journey. It will show how they looked for clues and found surprising facts. They risked much to tell the world about Putin's secret life and the mystery of his possible two hidden sons. 2. The famous gymnast. Alina Kabayeva was a very famous Russian rhythmic gymnast. Everyone in Russia knew her name. She was a national hero, loved by many people across the country. Her bright smile and amazing talent made her a beloved figure. Many admired her for her incredible success in sports. Alina won many important competitions during her career. She became a multiple-time Russian, European, and world champion. Her most famous moment came at the 2004 Summer Olympics. In Athens, Greece, she won a gold medal for Russia in rhythmic gymnastics. This made her even more popular. The whole country celebrated her great victories. She brought great pride to Russia. After her big win at the Olympics, Alina and other successful athletes were invited to meet with the president. This was Vladimir Putin. It was not the first time people had seen Kabayeva and Putin together. They were photographed earlier in 2001 at an event called the Russian Cup. These photos showed the famous gymnast standing with the country's leader. Alina's fame continued to grow very quickly after her Olympic win. She was more than just a sportswoman. She became a well-known public figure, respected and often seen in the news. Her public appearances with President Putin made her connection to the powerful leader clear to everyone. This close link between Kabayeva and the president began to set the stage for future events. People started to wonder more about their relationship. She moved from the sports arena into a more public role, always attracting attention from the Russian people. Her story was closely watched. This growing connection with the president was something many people in Russia observed with great interest. She was not just famous, she was becoming an important part of a bigger, more private story. 3. A story is stopped. In 2008, a big story appeared in a Russian newspaper. The paper was called Moskovsky Korrespondent. It claimed that President Vladimir Putin had secretly separated from his wife, Lyudmila. More surprisingly, the article said he was planning to marry Alina Kabayeva. Alina was a famous rhythmic gymnast and a national hero, only 24 years old at the time. When this news broke, President Putin was in Italy. He was at a formal meeting, and Western journalists quickly asked him about the article. Putin showed great anger. He stated very clearly that not a single word in the story was true. He then told the reporters in strong words to stop putting their snotty noses and erotic fantasies into other people's lives. The government's reaction, often called the Kremlin, was very fast and harsh. The newspaper Moskovsky Korrespondent was shut down almost immediately. It closed its doors in just 1 or 2 days after publishing the story. This was a striking event. It was the first and last time Vladimir Putin publicly talked about his private life in this way. Since becoming president in 2000, Putin had slowly increased his control over the press. He had already made some news companies come under state control. But shutting down an entire newspaper so quickly was a new and very strong action. This event sent a clear message. It showed the high risk of reporting on the president's personal life. The sudden closure of Moskovsky Korrespondent marked a new level of control over the media in Russia. It made it clear that certain topics, especially Putin's private matters, were off-limits for journalists. This act showed how dangerous it was to print unwanted stories. It taught other newspapers and journalists a strong lesson about the limits of press freedom in the country. The Kremlin was ready to silence any reports that it did not approve of, especially those about the leader's personal world. This event became a symbol of the growing dangers for independent journalism in Russia. 4. A difficult job. Ilya Rojdestvensky is a journalist who works for the Dossier Center. His job is very difficult and dangerous because he investigates important and hidden stories in Russia. He is an investigative journalist, which means he tries to find the truth, even when the government wants it kept secret. Ilya himself had to leave Russia 3.5 years ago. The Russian Ministry of Justice labeled him a foreign agent. This label is a strong tool used by the government to silence people. If a journalist is called a foreign agent, it means the state believes they are influenced by foreign groups and are an enemy of the state. This makes their life and work extremely difficult, almost impossible. Many journalists who speak against the Kremlin or its actions are affected by this law. The Foreign Agent Law was first introduced in 2012. It has been used more and more over the years to control the media. President Putin started limiting press freedom even earlier, since 2000. He made many news companies come under state control. Shutting down a newspaper, as happened with the Moskovsky Korrespondent, was a new and harsh step at the time. Today, the risks are much higher. A journalist can spend their whole life in prison for reporting certain stories. Press freedom in Russia is very low. An organization called Reporters Without Borders ranks Russia 171 out of 180 countries in the world for press freedom. This means it is very hard for journalists to report freely. Journalists in Russia face many risks. Some are sent to prison. The organization Reporters Without Borders says that 35 journalists were in Russian prisons in July 2025. Many others have been murdered for their work. Since 2011, at least 37 journalists have been killed. Reporting on President Putin or his private life can lead to a lifetime in prison. Even Russian journalists living outside the country are not safe. Some have been targeted with poison attacks. Ilya knows these dangers well. He understands that his life is at risk because of his job. But this danger did not stop him from starting his important investigation into Putin's secrets 4 years ago. He believes the truth must be told, no matter the personal cost. 5. News from far away. The search for answers about Vladimir Putin's secret sons began far from Russia, in a quiet, beautiful country, Switzerland. In 2015, a Swiss newspaper printed an interesting story. It reported that Alina Kabayeva, the famous gymnast, had given birth at a private clinic in Lugano, a city known for its scenic lake. Later, in 2022, another Swiss article repeated this important claim. For Ilya Rozhdestvensky, the brave journalist, these reports were a crucial starting point. This was where his real investigation into Putin's secret family truly began. He believed the Swiss news might be true, even though official sources in Russia said nothing. Ilya wanted to find out more about the child or children Alina Kabayeva might have had. Could Vladimir Putin really be the father of these children? The question was dangerous but important. Ilya started by looking into the private clinic in Lugano mentioned in the reports. It was known as one of Switzerland's most respected maternity hospitals, famous for its privacy and good care. He also learned about a Russian doctor named Natalia Tidbut, who worked at the clinic. Dr. Tidbut had moved to Switzerland more than 30 years earlier. It made sense that Kabayeva, a Russian national, would feel more comfortable with a Russian doctor during such a personal and important event as childbirth. To find more concrete clues, Ilya started digging through many leaked flight records from different Russian airlines. This careful work helped him discover something. He found records showing that Alina Kabayeva and Dr. Tidbut had traveled together several times. Their flights went back and forth between Russia and Switzerland. These key flights happened in 2014, 2015, 18, and 2019. The pattern of these travels told an important story. The timeline suggested that Alina Kabayeva may have given birth to 2 children during these years. It looked like the children were born roughly 4 years apart. However, even with these flight records, the full picture remained unclear. The alleged sons of the Russian leader were like ghosts. They had left almost no traces in any official Russian databases or public registries. Ilya looked everywhere, but he found nothing more about the children. For a year and a half, Ilya continued his difficult work, searching for any small detail. But by the summer of 2023, he had absolutely no further information. The children were completely hidden from the world. 6. The Big Secret. Ilya Rushdestvensky worked hard, but his investigation hit a wall. For more than a year, he could not find any official records of Alina Kabaya's children. They had no traces in Russian databases or any public lists. It was as if they did not exist. Ilya searched and searched, but by the summer of 2023, he had found absolutely nothing. The children were like ghosts, hidden from everyone. Then, by accident, Ilya found something important. He got access to a large set of financial documents. These papers came from a company that did work for Vladimir Putin. This was a big moment for his investigation. The documents showed a complex network of companies and payments. Many of these firms paid for construction workers, staff, and security guards at different places linked to Putin. Some of these payments looked very suspicious to Ilya. They did not seem like normal government spending. Ilya carefully went through the massive amount of financial records. He found details of payments for people who worked closely with Putin. There were transactions for Putin's personal pilots, the staff on his yachts, private teachers, and even dog trainers. Hundreds of people were on this payroll, all connected to Putin's private world. Ilya understood that these people might know secrets. He began to reach out to some of them, knowing that this was a dangerous part of his job. Finally, one person was ready to talk. This person was an informant. The informant worked directly at one of Vladimir Putin's many private estates. This person was close to the family that lived there and knew many private details. Ilya now had a direct line to someone inside this secret world. This was the first time he had found someone willing to speak about such a sensitive topic. The informant confirmed much of what Ilya suspected. First, the source told Ilya about a playground on the estate grounds. The informant explained that it was first built for Putin's grandchildren, the children of his official daughters. But then, the informant shared an even bigger secret. The source confirmed that 2 other children lived on the property. They were 2 boys. The informant told Ilya their names, Ivan and Vladimir Jr. This was the solid proof Ilya had been looking for so long. The secret was finally out. The Secret Sons were real. The informant even provided Ilya with photos, but Ilya chose not to publish them to protect the children's privacy. Ivan was 10 years old, and Vladimir Jr. was 6 years old. Just as Ilya had guessed from the flight records, these 2 boys lived at the highly guarded Lake Valdai estate. The years of silence and secrecy around Putin's private life began to crumble with this discovery. 7. A rich but lonely life. The secret estate on Lake Valdai was truly special. It lay hidden between Moscow and St. Petersburg, a huge area of land. This was one of many private places Vladimir Putin owned. It had its own train station, many houses, hangars for vehicles, and long roads. The most striking thing about the estate was its security. Many anti-aircraft missile systems were placed all around. They guarded the entire area closely. This showed how important and secret the place was. Inside this highly protected place, two young boys lived a very unusual life. Their names were Ivan, who was 10 years old, and Vladimir Jr., who was 6. They lived in a large house on the estate. Ilya's source said that Putin now spent more time here than at the Kremlin. It seemed this estate was becoming his new secret center of power. The boys were always surrounded by many adults. There were hundreds of staff members. These included nannies, private teachers, and bodyguards. There were also personal assistants, people who cooked food, cleaners, and maids. Anyone who wanted to work closely with the family had to first stay away from everyone for 2 or 3 weeks. This was a rule Putin started during a pandemic and kept it. He was always very careful about his personal safety. Ivan and Vladimir Jr. had many things to do. They could ride go-karts whenever they wanted. There was also a playground. They had many pets to play with. The staff made sure they were always busy and happy. But there was one big thing they could not do. They could not leave the estate. They had almost no contact with other children their age. They were cut off from the world outside. Most of their time was spent with adults. They did not even see their parents very often. Sometimes Ivan played ice hockey with his father in a special building. Putin's bodyguards would play with them, and they always let Putin and his son win. The estate had many other expensive things. There was a private golf course, a restaurant, a cinema, and a bowling alley. There was even a private casino. For religious needs, there was a private chapel called the Church of Saint Vladimir. In the summer, the family sometimes stayed at a beautiful house near the Finnish border. They also spent time on a very expensive yacht worth $100 million. While many people in Russia lived poor lives, Putin's inner circle lived in extreme luxury. Putin's official salary as president was only about $110,000 a year, but his real wealth was huge and hidden. It came from running a system where corruption was common. Many of the properties he used were officially owned by big state companies, like Gazprom, or by very rich friends. The $100 million yacht was owned by a secret company in another country. Putin paid for this rich and isolated life for his sons with millions of dollars. He believed it was right to keep everything a secret, from government plans to his private life. This was how he managed everything. The boys lived in a gold-plated isolation, a beautiful cage, guarded and hidden from everyone except those who served them. 8. The price of secrets. Vladimir Putin's secret sons, Ivan and Vladimir Jr., are still very young. Ivan is 10 years old and Vladimir Jr. is 6. They are too young to become political leaders in Russia. A person must be at least 35 to become president. So these boys are not hidden because they will be the next president soon. Instead, their hidden lives tell us a lot about how Putin leads Russia. He likes to keep all things secret: his personal life, his great wealth, and many important government decisions are all kept from public view. He truly believes this is the correct way to operate. He controls everything and does not want ordinary people to know the real truth. This important investigation by Ilya is much like the work of Alexei Navalny. Navalny was a very brave man who uncovered how much money Putin and his powerful friends had. Sadly, Navalny died in prison because he dared to share these truths. Journalists like Ilya take big risks with their lives to find and tell such important secrets. They face great danger, but they believe people truly need to know what is happening. Their dedicated work shows how Putin uses money that belongs to the public for his own private and secret luxury. He controls a very large country, and much of its wealth goes to him and to his close circle of friends. The two secret sons represent this hidden power and control. Revealing these secrets is a dangerous but very necessary job for those who seek the truth. It helps people see the true story behind his carefully built public image. What do you think is the biggest secret a powerful leader can keep from their people?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.